Earth didn't send negotiators. The warship they deployed struck terror into the stars. HFY, of galactic civilizations, where conflicts were resolved through lengthy diplomatic sessions and careful negotiations, where wars were fought with precise calculations and minimal casualties, where honor was measured by one's ability to find peaceful solutions. When the Zephyrian collective demanded Earth's surrender and offered generous terms for humanity's integration into their empire, they expected ambassadors, they expected translators, cultural experts, and negotiation teams. They expected humanity to follow the same patterns that had governed galactic politics for millennia. What they got instead was a single message: Earth doesn't negotiate with terrorists. And then came the ship, B. Not a fleet, not an armada. Just one vessel that appeared at the edge of Zephyrian space like a dark omen, broadcasting on all frequencies a simple declaration that would echo across the galaxy and redefine what it meant to be human in a universe that thought it knew everything about warfare. The ship had no name the aliens could pronounce, but its reputation would soon be whispered in every language across the stars. This is the story of how Earth's answer to diplomacy became the galaxy's worst nightmare, and why sometimes the best negotiation is the one that never happens. Buckle up. This isn't your typical first contact story. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution, watching the tactical display with eyes that had seen too many battles to count. The massive dreadnought hung in the void like a predator waiting to strike, its black hull absorbing the light from distant stars. Process, their movements precise and deadly calm. "Admiral, we're receiving another transmission from the Zephyrian fleet," reported Lieutenant Commander Jackson, his fingers dancing across his console. "They're demanding we identify ourselves and state our intentions." Chen's lips curved into something that might have been called a smile if it hadn't been so cold. "How many times is that now?" 14th attempt, ma'am." And same message each time. The Admiral turned her attention to the massive view screen that dominated the front of the bridge. Before them stretched the Zephyrian home fleet, over 200 vessels arranged in perfect formation. Their ships gleamed like polished silver, all smooth curves and elegant lines that spoke of a civilization that valued beauty even in their instruments of war. They were beautiful ships, Chen had to admit. They were also about to become scrap metal. "Any response to our message?" she asked. "B. Negative, Admiral. They seem to be ignoring our transmission entirely." Chen nodded. Earth's message had been simple enough. Withdraw your forces from human space and return our captured personnel, or face the consequences. Apparently, the Zephyrians didn't take threats seriously. That was their first mistake. Captain Torres, Chen's second-in-command, approached from the tactical station. His weathered face bore the scars of a dozen conflicts, and his eyes held the steady calm of a career military man. "Ma'am, we've completed our scans of their fleet composition. Intelligence was right about their tactical doctrine. They're arranged in a classic defensive formation, designed to maximize their energy shields and coordinate their particle beam arrays. And our assessment? They're thinking like they're fighting other Zephyrians," Torres replied with grim satisfaction. "All their tactics are based on long-range energy exchanges and shield attrition. They're not prepared for our kind of warfare." The Retribution was the culmination of humanity's military evolution, born from centuries of conflict and innovation. While the galaxy's established powers had settled into predictable patterns of warfare, humans had never stopped adapting, never stopped pushing the boundaries of what was possible in combat. The result was a ship that looked like nothing else in known space. Where alien vessels were smooth and graceful, the Retribution was angular and aggressive, its hull bristling with weapon systems that defied conventional understanding. Magnetic accelerator cannons lined its flanks like the spines of some prehistoric beast. Missile pods clustered at strategic points, each one containing enough firepower to level a city. And at its heart, the ship carried humanity's most closely guarded secret, the gravitational manipulation drive that made their impossible maneuvers possible. "Commander Vale, status on our special cargo?" Chen asked, turning to the ship's chief science officer. Commander Elena Vale looked up from her station, her expression mixing excitement with barely controlled fear. "The package is secure and ready for deployment, Admiral. I have to say, I never thought I'd see the day when we'd actually use theoretical physics as a weapon." Desperate times," Chen replied. "The Zephyrians have made their intentions clear. They've captured our diplomats, enslaved 3 of our colony worlds, and now they're demanding complete surrender. They seem to think we're just another primitive species to be absorbed into their empire. The truth was more complex than that. Humanity had achieved faster-than-light travel only 50 years ago, making them newcomers to the galactic community. In that time, they had encountered dozens of alien species, most of whom followed strict protocols governing contact with younger civilizations. The Zephyrians were different. They were conquerors, pure and simple, and they had mistaken humanity's small numbers for weakness.
Signal from the fleet commander, Admiral, Jackson reported.
With our commanding officer, put him through, Chen ordered. The view screen shifted to show the interior of a Zephyrian command bridge. The fleet commander was a typical member of his species, tall and slender, with pale blue skin and large dark eyes that seemed to hold an unsettling intelligence. His uniform was pristine white with gold trim, and his bearing spoke of absolute confidence in his superiority. "I am Fleet Commander HFY of the 7th Imperial Squadron," the alien began, his voice carrying the formal cadence of someone accustomed to being obeyed. "You command a vessel of unknown configuration. Identify yourself and your intentions in our space." Chen stepped forward, her uniform bearing the simple insignia of Earth's Unified Defense Force. Compared to the Zephyrian's elaborate costume, she looked almost plain. "Admiral Sarah Chen, commanding UES Retribution. My intentions should be obvious from the message we sent. Withdraw from human space and return our people." HFY's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his dark eyes. The humans. We have been expecting some form of response to our expansion into your territory. Or, "Tell me, Admiral, how many ships comprise your fleet?" You're looking at it. A pause, then something that might have been amusement crossed the fleet commander's features. "One ship?" "The collective has offered your species generous terms for integration into our empire. Your refusal to negotiate through proper diplomatic channels shows a concerning lack of wisdom. I will give you one opportunity to reconsider. Surrender now, and your crew will be treated with the same consideration we show all conquered peoples." Chen's smile was sharp as a blade. "Fleet Commander, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Earth didn't send negotiators because we've already had this conversation with 17 other species who thought they could take what was ours. Would you like to know how those conversations ended?" "Your primitive threats do not impress me, human. Our records show your species has been spacefaring for less than a standard century. We have been masters of interstellar warfare for over 3 millennia. Your single vessel, no matter how well armed you believe it to be, cannot stand against the might of the 7th Squadron." "You're probably right," Chen agreed. "If this were a fair fight, you'd destroy us without breaking a sweat. Fortunately for us, humans don't believe in fair fights." She nodded to Torres, who began entering commands into his tactical console. Around the bridge, status lights shifted from amber to red as the ship's weapons came online. "Last chance, Fleet Commander. Withdrawal now." HFY's expression hardened. "Path of destruction. Do not say you were not warned." The transmission cut off. Immediately, the Zephyrian fleet began to move. Their formations shifted with mechanical precision, energy shields flaring to life around each vessel. Long-range scanners showed particle beam arrays rotating to target the human ship, and Chen could see the tactical beauty in their coordination. They moved like a single organism, each ship perfectly positioned to support the others. "They're good," Torres observed. "Textbook execution." "Yes, they are," Chen agreed. "Too bad textbooks don't account for humans." The first wave of particle beams lanced out from the Zephyrian fleet, brilliant streams of coherent energy that would have vaporized any conventional vessel. The Retribution's response was immediate and shocking. Instead of trying to absorb the attack with shields or armor, the ship simply wasn't there anymore. The gravitational manipulation drive kicked in with a sound like reality tearing. Space-time bent around the human vessel as it dropped into a pocket of twisted gravity, effectively teleporting several thousand kilometers in an instant. The Zephyrian beams passed harmlessly through empty space. "Impossible," someone whispered on the alien command frequency, their communication discipline forgotten in shock. The Retribution emerged from its gravity pocket directly above the Zephyrian formation, its position defying every known law of tactical movement. Before the alien fleet could react, Chen's ship opened fire. The magnetic accelerator cannons spoke with voices of thunder. Unlike the energy weapons the Zephyrians were accustomed to facing, these fired solid projectiles accelerated to significant fractions of light speed. Each tungsten penetrator carried the kinetic energy of a small nuclear weapon, and they struck with devastating precision. The first Zephyrian cruiser to take a hit simply ceased to exist in any meaningful sense. Its shields, designed to deflect energy beams, offered no resistance to the physical projectile that punched through them like they weren't there. The ship's elegant hull crumpled like paper, its internal structure no match for the catastrophic forces unleashed within its frame. "Target destroyed," reported the weapons officer with professional calm. But the retribution wasn't done. Missile pods along its flanks opened like deadly flowers, each one releasing a swarm of smart projectiles. Unlike conventional missiles, these carried their own gravitational manipulation systems, allowing them to perform impossible maneuvers as they closed on their targets. The Zephyrian point defense systems opened fire, filling space with streams of interceptor fire. They managed to destroy perhaps a third of the incoming missiles. The rest simply bent space around themselves and appeared inside the alien formation, their warheads detonating against hull metal instead of shields. 16 enemy vessels destroyed or disabled, Torres reported. "They're trying to reform their battle line." Chen watched the tactical display with professional interest. The Zephyrians were adapting faster than she had expected, their remaining ships spreading out to prevent the concentration of firepower they had just experienced. It was a good tactical response. It also wouldn't save them. "Commander Vale, deploy the package." "Aye, Admiral. Package deployment in progress." Bride. On the Retribution's cargo bay, something emerged that looked like nothing so much as a large metallic sphere. It drifted away from the ship with deceptive calm, its surface reflecting the light of distant explosions. To external sensors, it appeared inert, just another piece of debris in the growing field of destruction. "What is that?" came Zaxai's voice over the communication channel. His earlier confidence was gone, replaced by something approaching fear. "That," Chen replied, "is why Earth doesn't send negotiators." The sphere reached the center of the Zephyrian formation and activated. Reality screamed. The gravitational field generator was theoretical physics made manifest, a device that could create localized distortions in space-time itself. At its heart was a microscopic black hole, sustained by exotic matter and controlled by systems that pushed the boundaries of human understanding. Space twisted around the device like water going down a drain. The Zephyrian ships, despite their attempts to flee, found themselves caught in a gravitational well that grew stronger by the second. Their engines, powerful enough to push them between stars, were helpless against the fundamental force of the universe itself. "Admiral," Zaxai's voice cracked with desperation, "call off your weapon. This is madness." "Is it?" Chen's voice was ice cold. You enslaved our colonies, you captured our diplomats, you demanded our surrender, and you did it all because you thought we were weak. Let me be clear, Fleet Commander. Earth doesn't negotiate with slavers. The gravitational field reached critical intensity. One by one, the Zephyrian ships began to stretch and deform as tidal forces exceeded their structural limits. Metal screamed and twisted, hulls cracking like eggs under the impossible stress. The beautiful, elegant vessels that had seemed so invincible moments before were reduced to streams of debris spiraling into the artificial singularity. "Please," Zaxai whispered. We yield. We surrender. Call off your weapon." Chen considered this for a long moment. Around the artificial black hole, the remnants of the 7th Squadron continued their death spiral, 200 ships and 50,000 crew members facing annihilation. Vale, shutdown sequence. Initiating shutdown, Admiral. Gravitational field collapse in 30 seconds. The spear pulsed once, and the impossible forces it had created began to dissipate. Space-time slowly returned to its normal configuration, releasing the surviving Zephyrian ships from their gravitational prison. Of the original 200 vessels, fewer than 50 remained intact. Silence filled the communication channels as both fleets contemplated what had just happened. The demonstration had been terrifying in its implications. Humanity had just announced to the galaxy that they possessed weapons that could manipulate the fundamental forces of reality itself. Chen said finally, "You have a choice. Return our people and withdraw from human space, or I deploy a second package. This time, I won't turn it off. The response came immediately. We agree to your terms. The captured humans will be returned immediately. Our forces will withdraw from all claimed human territories. Good. You have 72 hours. And if any Zephyrian vessel is detected in human space after that deadline, there will be no further warnings. Chen cut the communication channel and turned to face her bridge crew. Their faces showed a mixture of awe and concern at what they had just witnessed. Admiral, Commander Vale said quietly, the other galactic powers are going to hear about this. When they do, they'll know that Earth is not to be underestimated, Chen finished. We tried diplomacy, Commander. We sent ambassadors. We attempted negotiations. We offered peaceful coexistence. The Zephyrians responded by taking hostages and demanding surrender. Sometimes the only language bullies understand is violence. Captain Torres stepped forward. Orders, Admiral. Chen looked out at the debris field that had once been the pride of the Zephyrian fleet. In the distance, the surviving alien ships were already beginning their retreat, their earlier arrogance replaced by something approaching terror. Captain, it's time to let Earth know that their message has been delivered. As the Retribution turned away from the battlefield, its gravitational drive already spinning up for the journey home, a single message began broadcasting on all known frequencies. It was simple, direct, and would soon be heard across the galaxy. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. Today, the Zephyrian Collective learned a valuable lesson about human nature. We are not a species that responds well to threats. We are not a people who will submit to conquest, beings, and we are not a civilization that sends negotiators when someone tries to enslave our worlds or pieces considering hostile action against humanity. Earth doesn't negotiate with terrorists, slavers, or would-be conquerors. We have one response to such threats, and you have just seen it demonstrated. Choose your next actions very carefully. The message repeated on loop as the human warship disappeared into faster-than-light travel, leaving behind a field of debris that would serve as a monument to the galaxy's newest and most dangerous power. In the depths of space, the Zephyrian survivors began the long journey home, carrying with them news that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. Humanity had arrived, and they had not come in peace. The Galactic Council chamber on the neutral world of Nexus Prime had seen many historic moments in its 3,000-year existence, but never one quite like this. Representatives from 47 different species sat in their designated sectors, their various forms of communication creating a cacophony of clicks, whistles, telepathic pulses, and spoken languages. At the center of it all, High Counselor Veltar of the Ancient Ethereal Collective called for order with growing desperation. Honored delegates, please. Veltar's crystalline voice rang out through the translation systems. Alatai, we must address this situation with calm deliberation. Ambassador Tekela of the Arachnid Dominion clicked her mandibles in agitation. Calm? How can we remain calm when a primitive species has just demonstrated weapons that violate the fundamental laws of physics? My science advisors are telling me what we witnessed shouldn't be possible. From across the chamber, the Cetacean Empire's representative, a massive whale-like being suspended in a specialized life support tank, added his harmonic voice to the chaos. Our deep space monitoring stations recorded gravitational anomalies consistent with artificial black hole creation. Such technology is purely theoretical, even for our most advanced researchers. High Counselor Veltar tried again to restore order. The Ethereal Collective had served as mediators for galactic disputes for millennia, their energy-based forms and near-immortal lifespans making them ideal peacekeepers. But even their vast experience couldn't prepare them for this situation. The matter at hand, Veltar continued, is not the theoretical implications of human weapons technology. It is the fact that a newly emerged species has just destroyed a major Imperial fleet without any form of diplomatic contact or warning. Without warning? The voice belonged to Ambassador Chen Wei, Earth's lone representative to the Galactic Council. Unlike the elaborate environmental suits and exotic biology of her fellow delegates, she sat in a simple chair wearing a standard diplomatic uniform. Her human appearance seemed almost mundane compared to the fantastic array of alien forms around her, but her presence dominated the chamber nonetheless, Every eye, sensor cluster, and attention organ in the room focused on her as she stood. Honored counselors, I believe there's been a significant misunderstanding about the events in the Kepler 442 system. Ambassador Tequela's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation among her species. Misunderstanding? Your species deployed a weapon of mass destruction against a civilized fleet. Chen's expression remained calm, but her voice carried an edge of steel. The Zephyrian Collective enslaved 3 human colony worlds, captured our diplomatic personnel, and demanded the complete surrender of Earth's government. When our peaceful overtures were rejected, we responded appropriately. Appropriately? This from Ambassador Kryn of the silicon-based Geodesian Republic, his crystal form pulsing with indignation. You created an artificial singularity in the middle of a star system. The gravitational disturbances could have destabilized planetary orbits, but they didn't, Chen replied simply. Our weapon was precisely controlled and limited in scope. We destroyed military targets only, and we offered the survivors multiple opportunities to surrender. High Counselor Veltar floated closer to the human delegate, his energy form shifting through spectrums of light that indicated deep concern. Ambassador Chen, you must understand the implications of what your species has done. For 3 millennia, galactic conflicts have been resolved through careful negotiation and limited warfare. The weapons you deployed represent a fundamental shift in the balance of power. Chen nodded slowly. I do understand, High Counselor. But perhaps it's time the galaxy understood something about humanity as well. This holographic display that showed the human expansion into space over the past 50 years. Red markers indicated the locations of their colonies, while blue markers showed peaceful first contacts with alien species. In our brief time among the stars, humanity has encountered 43 different species. With 42 of them, we established peaceful diplomatic relations. We've shared technology, engaged in trade, and even formed defensive alliances. The Zephyrians were the exception. The hologram shifted to show the Zephyrian expansion into human space, their conquest of 3 colony worlds, and the capture of Earth's diplomatic mission. When the collective first entered our space, we sent ambassadors. We offered trade agreements, cultural exchange programs, and non-aggression pacts. Their response was to capture our diplomats and demand our surrender. They gave us 2 choices: submit or be conquered. Ambassador Tequila's form shifted restlessly. Even so, the scale of retaliation was completely disproportionate. The loss of life was regrettable, Chen interrupted, but necessary. Earth tried peaceful resolution for 6 months. During that time, the Zephyrians enslaved over 2 million human civilians and executed any who resisted. They made it clear that they viewed humanity as nothing more than another resource to be exploited. The chamber fell silent as the full scope of the Zephyrian crimes became clear. While the destruction of their fleet had shocked the galaxy, the revelation of their actions against human civilians put a different perspective on Earth's response. High Counselor Veltar pulsed with colors that indicated deep thought. Ambassador, the weapons your species employed represent a threat to every civilization in the galaxy. Artificial black hole generation, gravitational field manipulation, these technologies could destabilize entire star systems. Only if used irresponsibly, Chen replied. Earth has no intention of using these weapons against peaceful neighbors. But we also have no intention of allowing ourselves to be conquered by aggressive empires. The debate that followed lasted for hours, with representatives voicing concerns ranging from the practical to the philosophical. Some species called for immediate sanctions against humanity, while others argued that Earth's response had been justified given the circumstances. During a recess in the formal proceedings, Chen found herself approached by Ambassador Zekth of the Hegemony Worlds, a militaristic alliance of several species known for their aggressive expansion policies. Impressive display of force, Ambassador, Zekth said, his reptilian features arranged in what passed for a smile among his species. The hegemony respects strength, and your species has certainly demonstrated that. Chen studied the alien carefully. The hegemony had been on Earth's watch list as a potential threat, their expansion patterns showing an uncomfortable similarity to the Zephyrians. I appreciate the sentiment, Ambassador Zekth, but I hope you understand that our actions were defensive in nature. Earth has no aggressive intentions toward any peaceful species. Of course, Zekth replied, but his eyes held a calculating gleam. Still, it would be advantageous for our species to establish closer ties. Perhaps a mutual defense agreement? Chen's smile was polite but cold. Earth's position is quite simple, Ambassador. We extend friendship to those who offer it, and we defend ourselves against those who threaten it. I trust the hegemony will consider which category they wish to fall into. Constant Poe. As the formal session resumed, Chen noticed a shift in the atmosphere. Word of humanity's demonstration had spread far beyond the council chamber. Representatives were receiving urgent communications from their homeworlds, and the careful diplomatic language that typically characterized council proceedings was giving way to barely controlled panic. Ambassador Luinara of the Crystalline Confederacy spoke first. My government has received reports of mass fleet movements throughout Zephyrian space. It appears the collective is recalling all military units to defend their core worlds. Can you blame them? Asked Ambassador With of the Oceanic Tribes. If a single human vessel could destroy a major imperial fleet, what could a full human battle group accomplish? The question hung in the air like a challenge. Chen realized that this was the moment that would define humanity's place in galactic civilization. How she answered would determine whether Earth was seen as a protector or a threat. The UES Retribution is not our most powerful vessel, she said quietly, and the chamber erupted in shocked exclamations. Chen waited for silence before continuing. Nor is it our only ship of its class. Earth takes the defense of human space very seriously. High Counselor Velter's energy form flickered through alarmed patterns. Amendment House of this capability does Earth possess? Chen met his gaze steadily. Enough. The implications of her statement rippled through the chamber. If humanity had multiple vessels capable of the destruction they had witnessed, the balance of galactic power had shifted dramatically in a single day. Ambassador Takela leaned forward in her specialized chair. And what are Earth's intentions regarding galactic expansion? Will humanity be content with their current territorial claims? Earth has no interest in conquering other species, Chen replied. Pritico a challenge down there. But we will not tolerate aggression against human colonies or civilians. Any species that attempts to enslave or conquer humanity will face the same fate as the 7th Squadron. The chamber erupted again, this time with both alarmed protests and grudging respect. Chen could see the calculations taking place behind alien eyes as representatives tried to assess what this new reality meant for their own governments. There is another matter, came a new voice from the back of the chamber. Ambassador Kielsada of the Ancient Observer Collective rarely spoke in council sessions, her species preferring to watch and record rather than participate in galactic politics. When she did speak, the entire chamber listened. The weapons demonstrated by humanity suggest a level of theoretical physics understanding that should not be possible for such a young species. Quiltsara continued, her insectoid form perfectly still as she spoke. Our analysis indicates that humans have achieved in 50 years what most civilizations require millennia to develop. This raises interesting questions. Chen felt a chill run down her spine. The Observer Collective was known for their vast intelligence networks and their ability to uncover hidden truths. If they had suspicions about human technological development, perhaps, Kilsar continued, the galaxy would benefit from a better understanding of how humanity achieved such rapid advancement. I'm afraid that information is classified, Chen replied carefully. The truth was more complex than the observers suspected, but also potentially more dangerous. Humanity's rapid technological advancement hadn't come from alien contact or ancient artifacts, as many species assumed. It had come from something far more fundamentally human, the ability to turn theoretical impossibilities into practical realities through sheer bloody-minded determination. High Counselor Veltar attempted to steer the discussion back to more immediate concerns. Regardless of how humanity achieved their current capabilities, we must address the implications for galactic stability. The balance of power that has maintained peace for centuries has been fundamentally altered. Has it? Chen asked. For the past 300 years, the galaxy has been dominated by a handful of ancient empires, who used their technological advantages to expand at the expense of younger species. The Zephyrians alone have conquered 47 different civilizations in that time. She activated her holographic display again, this time showing a map of galactic territory over the past 3 centuries. The pattern was clear. aggressive empires expanding while younger species were absorbed or destroyed. Humanity offers a different model, Chen continued. We believe that every sentient species has the right to exist free from conquest or enslavement. We're willing to use our capabilities to protect that right. Precedent. The implications of her statement were staggering. Earth was essentially declaring itself the protector of the galaxy's smaller and weaker species, a role that put them in direct opposition to several major powers. Ambassador Zek's reptilian features twisted into a sneer. You speak of protection, but what you offer is domination by another name. What right do humans have to dictate galactic politics? Chen's smile was sharp as a blade. The same right that the hegemony claims when they invade primitive worlds. The same right that the Zephyrians claimed when they enslaved our colonies. The difference is that we're offering protection to those who want it, not conquest to those who don't. The chamber descended into chaos as delegates attempted to process the implications of humanity's declaration. Some species saw opportunity in Earth's offer of protection, while others viewed it as a threat to their own expansion plans. Through it all, Chen remained calm and composed, her human features showing none of the complex emotions raging within her. This was the moment she had been preparing for since Earth first learned of the Zephyrian threat. Everything humanity had built in space, every alliance they had forged, every defensive system they had constructed, led to this moment. High Counselor Veltar finally managed to restore order. These are matters that require careful consideration by all member governments. This session is hereby recessed pending further deliberation. As the chamber emptied, Chen remained in her seat, watching as alien delegates hurried to their communication stations. Within hours, every government in the galaxy would know that humanity had not only demonstrated terrifying military capabilities, but had also declared themselves the protectors of galactic civilization. Ambassador Kiel-Sara approached her position, moving with the precise mechanical gait common to her species. An interesting gambit, Ambassador Chen, but protection is an expensive commitment. Are humans truly prepared to police an entire galaxy? Chen met the alien's compound gaze steadily. We're prepared to defend those who can't defend themselves. Beyond that, we'll see what the future brings. Indeed we will, Kiel-Sara replied. Indeed we will. As Chen made her way back to the human embassy, she couldn't shake the feeling that her words in the council chamber had just set in motion events that would reshape galactic civilization forever. Earth had announced itself not just as a military power, but as a moral one. The question now was whether the rest of the galaxy would accept humanity's vision of justice, or whether they would unite to destroy the upstart species that dared to challenge the established order. Behind her, the communication arrays of Nexus Prime burned with activity as urgent messages raced across the galaxy. The age of human isolation was over. What came next would test every assumption about warfare, diplomacy, and the fundamental nature of civilization itself. In the depths of space, other forces were already stirring in response to humanity's declaration. Ancient powers that had slumbered for millennia were awakening, and species that had never before cooperated were beginning to discuss the human problem in private chambers far from the public eyes of the Galactic Council. The galaxy had heard humanity's message. Now it was time to see how they would respond. Captain Marcus Rivera stood on the observation deck of the UES Liberator, watching the 3 human colony ships as they approached the contested system of Tau Ceti. Behind him, the bridge crew worked in quiet efficiency, their movements sharp and professional despite the tension that filled the air. Through the reinforced viewports, the distant star cast its light across a scene that would soon become another test of humanity's resolve. Captain Lieutenant Sarah Kim called from the communication station. We're receiving a priority transmission from Earth Command. Rivera turned away from the viewport and walked back onto the bridge proper. The Liberator was smaller than the famous Retribution, but no less dangerous. Where Admiral Chen's ship was a dreadnought designed for fleet engagement, Rivera's vessel was built for rapid response and surgical strikes. Its sleek hull housed some of humanity's most advanced weapons systems, and its crew was drawn from Earth's Special Operations Forces. Put it through, Lieutenant. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing the stern features of Admiral Harrison, Earth's Director of Colonial Defense. His weathered face bore the marks of a man who had spent decades making impossible decisions. Captain Rivera, you're approaching a situation that could determine the future of human expansion. 3 days ago, the Hegemony Worlds declared the Tau Ceti system to be within their sphere of influence. They've established a blockade to prevent our colony ships from reaching the habitable planet. Rivera nodded grimly. The Tau Ceti crisis had been brewing for months. Earth had purchased colonization rights to the system through legitimate channels, paying the Galactic Development Authority a substantial fee for the privilege. The planet was perfect for human habitation, Earth-like gravity, breathable atmosphere, and abundant natural resources. 3 colony ships carrying over 50,000 civilians were already en route when the hegemony moved to claim the system. What's the political situation, Admiral? Tense. The Galactic Council is demanding that both sides submit to arbitration, but the hegemony is arguing that their claim predates ours by ancient right of conquest. They're saying that their ancestors explored the system thousands of years ago, which gives them precedence over our legal purchase. Rivera's expression darkened. Ancient right of conquest was a legal doctrine that allowed older species to claim territory based on historical exploration, even if they had never actually colonized it. It was a law that heavily favored the galaxy's established powers and had been used to deny expansion rights to younger species for centuries. And our response? Admiral Harrison's smile was cold as winter steel. Earth's position is simple. We paid for legal colonization rights, and we intend to exercise them. The colony ships will reach Tau Ceti on schedule. Your job is to make sure they arrive safely. Understood, Admiral. What are the rules of engagement? The hegemony has deployed 47 warships to enforce their blockade. They've been careful to position themselves in interstellar space, technically avoiding an act of war against the colony ships. However, they've made it clear that any attempt to land on Tau Ceti Prime will be considered a hostile act. Rivera studied the tactical display that appeared on his screen. Bekui. The hegemony fleet was arranged in a standard blockade formation, their ships positioned to intercept any vessel attempting to reach the inner system. It was an impressive force, heavy cruisers, destroyers, and support vessels from 3 different hegemony species working in coordination. Permission to speak freely, Admiral? Granted. 47 ships against 1. Those aren't great odds, even for us. Harrison's expression didn't change, but there was something in his eyes that made Rivera straighten unconsciously. Captain, 3 months ago the galaxy learned that humanity doesn't negotiate with bullies, Dad. Today, they're going to learn that we don't back down from them either. The transmission ended, leaving Rivera alone with his thoughts and his crew. Approaching, around him, the bridge hummed with quiet activity as his officers prepared for what was to come. Each of them knew the implications of their mission. This wasn't just about one star system or 50,000 colonists. This was about whether humanity's declaration of principle in the Galactic Council would be backed up with action. Commander Santos, what's our ETA to the hegemony fleet? His executive officer, a veteran of Earth's corporate wars, checked her navigation display. 6 hours at current speed, Captain. Long-range sensors are picking up their formation now. Rivera moved to the tactical station where Lieutenant Commander Park was analyzing the enemy fleet composition. The young officer had served with distinction during the Zephyrian crisis, and his experience with alien combat doctrine made him invaluable for this mission. Assessment, Commander? They're flying textbook formations, sir. Heavy units in the center, destroyers on the flanks, support vessels in the rear. The hegemony learned their tactics from the old Imperial Navy, which means they favor direct assault and overwhelming firepower. Weaknesses? Park highlighted several sections of the enemy formation. They're designed to fight other conventional fleets, sir. Their ships are heavily armored and well-armed, but they're not as maneuverable as our vessels. More importantly, their command structure is rigid. Each species maintains separate communication protocols, which creates coordination delays. Rivera nodded thoughtfully. Humanity's advantage had never been superior technology alone. It was their ability to adapt, to think outside the established patterns of warfare that had governed the galaxy for millennia. What about their commanding officer, Admiral Korax of the Saurian Dominance? He's got 40 years of experience and a reputation for aggressive tactics. The intelligence reports suggest he views humans as an upstart species that needs to be taught their place in the galactic hierarchy. How unfortunate for him, Rivera said quietly. 2 hours later, the first communications came through from the hegemony fleet. Admiral Korax appeared on the main view screen, his reptilian features arranged in an expression of supreme confidence. He was an impressive figure, 3 meters tall, with scales that gleamed like polished armor and eyes that glowed with predatory intelligence. I am Admiral Korax of the 3rd Hegemony Battle Group. You are approaching a restricted system under the protection of hegemony law. Identify yourself and state your business. Rivera stepped forward, his human form seeming almost insignificant compared to the alien commander's imposing presence. Commanding UES Liberator. We're escorting Earth colony ships to their legal destination. Korax's laugh was a sound like grinding stone. Legal? Human. The Tau Ceti system belongs to the hegemony by right of ancient exploration. Your species' crude understanding of galactic law does not supersede legitimate territorial claims. With respect, Admiral, Earth purchased colonization rights through the Galactic Development Authority. 2. We have the documentation to prove it. Documentation can be forged, contracts can be manipulated. But the fact remains that this system falls within traditional hegemony space. I am prepared to be generous, however. Turn your colony ships around now, and no one need be harmed. Rivera's smile was polite, but his eyes were ice cold. I'm afraid that won't be possible, Admiral. 50,000 human civilians are depending on us to see them safely to their new home. Korax's expression shifted, scales darkening with anger. Then you force my hand, human. I cannot allow your vessels to proceed. Stand down or face the consequences. Admiral, I think there's been a misunderstanding. And you seem to think this is a negotiation? It's not. The alien commander's eyes narrowed. Explain yourself. 3 months ago, your colleagues in the Zephyrian Collective made the mistake of thinking they could intimidate humanity through superior numbers. They deployed 200 ships against one of ours. Would you like to know how that engagement ended? For the first time, uncertainty flickered across Korax's features. Every military commander in the galaxy had heard the reports from the Kepler bridge, but many had dismissed them as exaggerated propaganda. You have 1 ship against 47, human. Even if the reports of your weapons are accurate, you cannot possibly, Admiral Rivera interrupted. I'm going to give you the same choice we gave Fleet Commander Zaxahe. Withdraw your forces and allow our colony ships to proceed, or discover why Earth doesn't back down from bullies. A roar of rage echoed through the communication channel. You dare threaten the hegemony? You pathetic mammals will learn what happens to those who challenge superior species? The transmission cut off, and Rivera turned to his crew. Around him, status lights shifted from amber to red as the Liberator's weapon systems came online. All hands, this is the captain. We are about to engage a superior enemy force in defense of human colonies and the principle that might does not make right. Earth is watching. The galaxy is watching. Show them what humans do when someone threatens our people. The response was immediate and fierce. 47 voices speaking as one. Hoya, Captain! On the tactical display, the hegemony fleet began to move. Their formations shifted with practiced precision, heavy cruisers moving to firing positions while destroyers spread out to prevent flanking maneuvers. It was a beautiful display of coordinated naval warfare, the product of thousands of years of military tradition. Enemy fleet is powering weapons, reported Lieutenant Commander Park. They're moving to standard battle formation. Rivera watched the alien deployment with professional interest. Admiral Korax was positioning his forces exactly as military doctrine demanded, creating overlapping fields of fire and mutual support between his ships. It was textbook perfect. It was also exactly what Rivera had hoped for. Commander Santos, execute Plan Delta. Aye, sir. All stations, prepare for gravitational displacement. The Liberator's most closely guarded secret wasn't its weapons or its armor. It was the gravitational manipulation drive that allowed it to perform maneuvers that defied conventional understanding of space combat. Unlike the massive field generator deployed by the Retribution, the Liberator carried a series of smaller devices that could bend space-time in localized areas. Displacement in 3, 2, 1. Mark. Reality twisted around the human ship as space folded in on itself. To external observers, the Liberator simply ceased to exist, vanishing from normal space without trace or warning. The hegemony fleet's targeting computers registered the disappearance as some form of cloaking device, and Admiral Korax ordered his ships to spread out and search for the invisible enemy. What they found instead was something far worse. The Liberator emerged from its gravitational pocket directly in the center of the hegemony formation, its position impossible according to every known law of space combat. Before the alien ships could react, Rivera's vessel opened fire with weapons designed specifically for close-range engagement. The plasma pulse cannons fired in rapid sequence, each shot containing enough energy to vaporize a city block. Unlike the kinetic weapons carried by the Retribution, these were pure energy weapons, but they operated on principles that the hegemony had never encountered. Instead of straight-line beams, the plasma charges followed curved trajectories through space, bending around defensive shields to strike hull metal directly. The first hegemony cruiser to take a hit erupted like a miniature star. Its armor, designed to deflect conventional energy weapons, offered no protection against plasma charges that simply curved around its defenses. The ship's internal structure melted under the intense heat, and secondary explosions tore through its hull. "Target destroyed," Park reported with grim satisfaction. But the Liberator wasn't done. Missile pods along its flanks opened to reveal humanity's latest innovation: smart mines that could be deployed and activated remotely. Dozens of small devices scattered throughout the hegemony formation, each one equipped with gravitational sensors and proximity fuses. "Admiral Corax is attempting to withdraw his forces," Santos reported. "They're trying to break formation." "Too late," Rivera replied. The smart mines activated simultaneously, each one creating a small but intense gravitational field. The effect was to trap the hegemony ships in pockets of twisted space-time, preventing their escape while leaving them vulnerable to continued attack. "Parrot." "Sir, we're receiving multiple surrender signals from enemy vessels," Lieutenant Kim reported. Rivera studied the tactical display. In less than 10 minutes, the Liberator had destroyed or disabled over half of Admiral Corax's fleet. The remaining ships were trapped by the gravitational mines, their crews undoubtedly terrified by weapons that seemed to operate outside the known laws of physics. "Put Admiral Corax through." The alien commander's image appeared on the view screen, but the confident Predator was gone. In his place was a shaken officer whose understanding of warfare had just been fundamentally challenged. "How," was all Corax managed to say. "Physics, Admiral Depew. Your species has had thousands of years to perfect conventional space combat. Humans have had 50 years to completely rethink it." Rivera gestured to the tactical display, where the trapped hegemony ships continued their futile attempts to escape the gravitational fields. "Producer, order your forces to stand down and allow our colony ships to proceed, or watch them be destroyed one by one." Corax's scales had shifted to a pale, sickly color. "This is impossible. No single ship can defeat an entire fleet." "You're thinking like everyone else in the galaxy, Admiral. You're assuming that bigger numbers automatically mean victory. But humans learned a long time ago that superior tactics and technology can overcome any numerical advantage." The alien commander was silent for a long moment, his predatory eyes focused on something beyond the screen. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. I surrender. The hegemony fleet stands down. Your colony ships may proceed." "The wise choice, Admiral. Commander Santos, deactivate the gravitational fields." As the smart mines shut down, the surviving hegemony ships found themselves free but thoroughly defeated. Their formations scattered as individual commanders sought to put distance between themselves and the terrifying human vessel that had just redefined space combat. "Captain," Lieutenant Kim called out, "the colony ships are reporting all clear. They're beginning their approach to Tau Ceti Prime." Rivera watched on the view screen as the three massive civilian vessels moved past the wreckage of the hegemony fleet. Each ship carried over 15,000 colonists, families, scientists, engineers, and farmers who had left Earth to build new lives among the stars. They were the reason he was here, the people he had sworn to protect. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the Lieb colony ship," Kim reported. "Put it through." The face that appeared on the screen belonged to Maria Santos, the mission's civilian coordinator. Her expression mixed relief with amazement as she looked out at the battlefield. "Captain Rivera, we don't know how to thank you. When we heard about the hegemony blockade, we thought we might have to turn back." "No thanks necessary, ma'am. Earth doesn't abandon its people." Maria's eyes filled with tears. "Those families, those children, they're going to have a home because of what you did here today." After the transmission ended, Rivera remained on the bridge as his ship began the journey back to Earth. Around him, his crew worked to compile battle reports and damage assessments, but the mood was subdued despite their victory. "Penny for your thoughts, sir?" Commander Santos asked. Rivera turned from the viewport where he had been watching the colony ships disappear toward their new home. "I was thinking about precedents, Commander. Today we proved that humanity will fight for its colonies. But we also proved that we can defeat seemingly impossible odds through superior tactics and technology. That's good news, isn't it, sir?" "It is and it isn't. Word of this engagement will spread throughout the galaxy just like news of the Retribution's victory. Other species will take note that humans can't be intimidated or bullied. But they'll also start working together to find ways to counter our advantages." Santos nodded thoughtfully. "An arms race. More than that, we've essentially declared war on the established order of galactic civilization. Every empire that's used superior force to expand their territory now sees humanity as a threat to their way of life." Through the viewport, the stars stretched away into infinity, each point of light representing systems where alien civilizations were probably already discussing the human problem. Rivera knew that today's victory was just the beginning of a larger struggle that would determine not just humanity's place among the stars, but the fundamental nature of galactic civilization itself. "Orders, Captain?" Santos asked. Rivera straightened and turned back toward the bridge. "Set course for Earth, Commander." "We have a report to file and preparations to make." "Preparations, sir?" Rivera's smile was sharp as a blade. "The galaxy just learned that humans don't back down from bullies, Commander. Now, they're going to test just how far we're willing to go to prove it." As the Liberator jumped to faster-than-light travel, its message began broadcasting on all known frequencies. Like Admiral Chen's declaration after the Zephyrian defeat, Rivera's words would soon echo across the galaxy, heard by every species and every government. "This is Captain Marcus Rivera of the United Earth Defense Force. Today, the hegemony worlds learned that humanity honors its commitments to protect human colonies and human civilians. We purchased legal rights to the Tau Ceti system, and our people will build their homes there as promised. To any other species considering the use of force to deny human expansion, Earth will go to any length to protect our people and our legal rights. We don't seek conflict, but we will not be intimidated by superior numbers or ancient claims of privilege. The age of might making right is ending. The age of justice is beginning." The message repeated as Rivera's ship raced toward home, carrying news that would reshape the balance of power throughout the galaxy. Behind them, 50,000 human colonists began building humanity's newest outpost among the stars, protected by the knowledge that Earth would never abandon them to alien aggression. The test of resolve had been passed. The question now was whether the galaxy would accept humanity's vision of justice, or whether they would unite to destroy the species that dared to challenge 3 millennia of established order. Director Elena Vasquez stood in the underground command center beneath Earth's Rocky Mountains, surrounded by holographic displays that showed the real-time status of humanity's intelligence network across the galaxy. The facility, known only as the Vault, served as the nerve center for Earth's most classified operations. Outside, the world continued its daily routines, unaware that the fate of human civilization might be decided in the sterile corridors and darkened chambers buried kilometers beneath the surface. "Director, we have confirmation," reported Agent Martinez, his voice carrying the weight of information that could change everything. "The synthesis protocol is real." Vasquez turned from the main tactical display to face her senior intelligence analyst. "Difference? Infiltrating the deepest levels of galactic society, posing as a merchant trader while gathering intelligence on the alien response to humanity's recent victories. His findings had been disturbing enough to warrant this emergency briefing. Was done violated. Show me what you found." The holographic display shifted to show a complex network diagram spanning dozens of star systems. Red lines connected various alien governments, while purple markers indicated meeting locations and communication nodes. 3 weeks after Captain Rivera's victory at Tau Ceti, representatives from 17 different species began meeting in secret. They call themselves the Convergence Council, and their goal is simple: the complete elimination of humanity as a galactic power. Vasquez studied the network diagram with growing concern. The species represented were some of the galaxy's oldest and most powerful civilizations: the hegemony worlds, the crystalline confederacy, the arachnid dominion, and even the supposedly neutral observer collective. What's the synthesis protocol? Martinez activated a new display showing technical schematics and weapon specifications. It's a plan to combine the technical capabilities of all member species into a unified force capable of neutralizing human military advantages. They're sharing their most advanced weapons technology, pooling their research capabilities, and coordinating their military production. The implications were staggering. Epidemically, none of these species posed a serious threat to humanity's advanced forces. But working together, sharing technology that had been developed over millennia of separate evolution, specific threats? The Crystalline Confederacy is providing gravitational shielding technology that could neutralize our space-time manipulation weapons. The Arachnid Dominion is contributing their quantum entanglement communication systems for real-time fleet coordination. The Hegemony is offering their industrial capacity for mass production. Vasquez felt a chill run down her spine. Each technological contribution addressed a specific weakness the aliens had identified in human tactical doctrine. Gravitational shielding would render their most powerful weapons useless. Quantum communication would eliminate the coordination delays that humanity had exploited in previous engagements. And Hegemony, industrial capacity, could produce fleets large enough to overwhelm any defensive force through sheer numbers. Timeline? Conservative estimates put full implementation at 18 months. However, they're already field testing prototype systems. Our deep space monitoring stations have detected gravitational anomalies consistent with shielding technology in 3 different systems. Agent Chen spoke up from her station across the command center. There's more. We've identified the man coordinating the entire operation. A new hologram appeared, showing the elegant features of High Counselor Veltar of the Ethereal Collective. His energy-based form shimmered with patterns that indicated deep concentration. Veltar? He's supposed to be neutral. The Ethereals have mediated galactic conflicts for 3,000 years. Not anymore, Chen replied grimly. Our analysis indicates that humanity's actions have fundamentally disrupted the balance of power that the Ethereals work so hard to maintain. They see us as an existential threat to galactic stability. Vasquez processed this information with growing alarm. The Ethereal Collective possessed some of the most advanced technology in the galaxy, accumulated over millennia of peaceful scientific advancement. If they were actively working against humanity, what about our allies, the species we've established peaceful relations with? Martinez's expression darkened. That's where it gets complicated. The Convergence Council isn't just targeting our military capabilities. They're implementing economic and political pressure to isolate humanity from potential allies. A new display showed the galactic trade networks that humanity depended on for raw materials and technological exchange. Red markers indicated trade routes that had been severed, while orange markers showed routes under pressure. The Cetacean Empire has been forced to suspend trade agreements due to technical concerns about human technology. The silicon-based Geodesian Republic is being offered exclusive access to crystalline research in exchange for ending their defensive alliance with Earth. Divide and conquer, Vasquez said quietly. Exactly. They're using every tool short of direct military action to weaken our position before the final confrontation. The briefing continued for another hour, with each new revelation painting a darker picture of humanity's situation. The Convergence Council had spent months analyzing every human victory, identifying weaknesses and developing countermeasures. They had created detailed psychological profiles of human commanders, studied Earth's industrial capacity, and even infiltrated some of humanity's outer colonies. When the formal briefing ended, Vasquez dismissed her staff and remained alone in the command center. The weight of command had never felt heavier than it did in that moment. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy as a protector of justice and freedom, but their enemies were proving more adaptable and resourceful than anyone had anticipated. The secure communication system activated, and Admiral Chen's image appeared on the main screen. She was calling from the Bridge of the Retribution, currently stationed in the Sol system as part of Earth's defensive perimeter. Director, I assume you've been briefed on the synthesis protocol? Just finished reading Martinez's report. It's worse than we thought. Admiral Chen's expression was grim. Military intelligence confirms what your people found. Movements throughout convergent space. They're not just sharing technology. They're preparing for coordinated military action on a scale the galaxy hasn't seen in centuries. Vasquez studied the tactical displays showing Earth's current defensive posture. 12 ships of the Retribution class formed the core of humanity's fleet, supported by dozens of smaller vessels like the Liberator. It was an impressive force by any conventional measure, but against the combined might of 17 alien civilizations, how long do we have? Best case scenario, 6 months before they're ready to move. Worst case, they could launch a probe attack within weeks to test our defenses. The two women sat in silence for a moment, each contemplating the enormity of the challenge facing their species. Humanity had achieved remarkable victories through superior tactics and advanced technology, but those advantages were being systematically neutralized by enemies who had learned from their defeats. "There is one option," Admiral Chen said quietly. "I'm listening. We could strike first, take out their research facilities, disrupt their communication networks, eliminate key leadership figures. A coordinated preemptive campaign could set their preparations back years." I considered this carefully. A preemptive strike would certainly disrupt enemy plans, but it would also confirm every accusation that humanity was an aggressive expansionist species bent on galactic domination. The political implications? I know. It would validate everything they've been saying about us. But Elena, if we wait for them to complete the synthesis protocol, we might not have the capability to stop them. The director turned to study the galactic map showing human space surrounded by increasingly hostile neighbors. The irony was not lost on her. Humanity had achieved its greatest victories by refusing to back down from bullies, but now their very success had turned the entire galaxy against them. "Admiral, I need you to prepare contingency plans for both scenarios. If we decide to strike first, I want targets identified and mission parameters ready within 48 hours. If we decide to wait, I need to know exactly what defensive measures we can implement to survive their assault." B. Understood. "What about diplomatic solutions? B. Is there any chance we can negotiate our way out of this?" Vasquez's laugh was bitter. "They've made it clear that nothing short of complete human submission will satisfy them. The Convergence Council isn't interested in coexistence. They want to eliminate us as a threat to their established order." After the communication ended, Vasquez activated her personal workstation and began composing a classified briefing for Earth's leadership. The president needed to know that humanity was facing its greatest crisis since the development of faster-than-light travel. As she worked, reports continued to flow in from intelligence operatives throughout the galaxy. Each new piece of information painted a clearer picture of the forces arrayed against humanity, and none of it was encouraging. Agent Rodriguez reported from the hegemony worlds that massive shipyards were working around the clock to produce vessels equipped with synthesis technology. Agent Park confirmed that the Arachnid Dominion was deploying quantum communication arrays to coordinate fleet movements across multiple star systems simultaneously. Agent Thompson provided disturbing evidence that the Observer Collective was sharing detailed intelligence on human psychology and tactical doctrine with military planners. But perhaps most troubling was the report from Agent Williams in crystalline space. The Confederacy's gravitational shielding technology wasn't just defensive. It could be adapted to create offensive weapons that would make humanity's own gravitational manipulation systems look primitive by comparison. Director, Agent Chen called from her workstation. "We're receiving an encrypted transmission from one of our deep cover assets in ethereal space." Vasquez abandoned her report and moved to Chen's station. Deep cover operations in ethereal space were incredibly dangerous. The energy-based aliens possessed sensory capabilities that made conventional infiltration nearly impossible. Put it through. The message was brief and terrifying in its implications. "Synthesis protocol acceleration confirmed. High Counselor Veltar has authorized immediate deployment of prototype weapon systems. Convergence fleets moving to staging areas. Estimate weeks, not months, until coordinated assault begins." Vasquez stared at the message for a long moment, her mind racing through the implications. If the Convergence Council was accelerating their timeline, it could only mean one thing. They had achieved breakthrough results in their technological integration. Director Martinez called from across the command center. "We're picking up massive energy signatures from deep space. Unknown configuration, but the power output is consistent with theoretical gravitational weapons." The main display shifted to show long-range sensor readings from humanity's outermost monitoring stations. The readings were unlike anything in their databases. Energy signatures that seemed to bend space-time itself into weapon configurations. They're not just testing technology, Vasquez realized with growing horror. They're testing it against human targets. The sensor readings showed the energy signatures moving through space in patterns that suggested active hunting. They were searching for something, and given their location near human trade routes, alert all shipping in the outer systems, Vasquez ordered. Full communications blackout. Any vessel that can reach a safe harbor should do so immediately. But even as she gave the orders, Vasquez knew they might be too late. The Convergence Council had moved beyond preparation into active operation. The shadow war that had been fought with espionage and political maneuvering was about to become very real indeed. Martinez, I need you to activate Protocol 7. Her senior analyst's face went pale. Protocol 7 was humanity's most classified intelligence operation, designed to gather information through methods that violated every principle of galactic diplomacy. Director, if we implement Protocol 7, if we don't implement it, there might not be a human species left to worry about diplomatic consequences. Do it. As her staff began activating humanity's deepest and most dangerous intelligence assets, Vasquez returned to her personal workstation and opened a secure channel to Admiral Chen. Admiral, the situation has just escalated beyond all projections. The Convergence Council is moving to active operations. I need you to implement immediate defensive measures and prepare for enemy contact. Chen's image showed no surprise at this news. Understood, Director. We've been tracking those energy signatures as well. Whatever they've built, it's unlike anything in our tactical databases. 3. How long until they reach human space? At current trajectory and speed? 72 hours. Vasquez felt the weight of humanity's future settling on her shoulders. In 3 days, the species that had announced itself as the protector of galactic freedom would face an enemy that had spent months preparing specifically to destroy them. Admiral, I'm authorizing you to implement any measures necessary to defend human space. The gloves are off. Chen's smile was sharp as winter steel. Finally, it's time these aliens learned what happens when you back humans into a corner. As looked around the command center at her staff, working to coordinate humanity's response to the greatest crisis in their history. Each of them knew that the next few days would determine whether Earth remained a free world or became another footnote in the galaxy's history of conquest. The shadow war was ending. The real war was about to begin. Outside in the galaxy, alien fleets equipped with technology specifically designed to counter human advantages were moving toward their targets. Weapons that could neutralize gravitational manipulation were being charged and calibrated. The communication systems that would allow perfect coordination between dozens of species were coming online. But in the depths of space, human ships were also moving. Earth's finest commanders were preparing to defend their species with weapons and tactics that the Convergence Council had never seen, because some of humanity's most advanced capabilities had been kept in reserve for exactly this moment. The galaxy was about to discover that backing humans into a corner was the most dangerous mistake any species could make. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the command bridge of the UES Retribution, but the ship around her bore little resemblance to the vessel that had humbled the Zephyrian Collective months earlier. The emergency retrofits had transformed the dreadnought into something that pushed the very boundaries of what was possible with human technology. New weapon systems lined its hull. Experimental defensive arrays hummed with barely contained energy. And at its heart, modifications so classified that even Chen's senior staff were not fully briefed on their capabilities. Admiral, all ships report ready for Operation Thunderstrike, reported Captain Torres, his voice steady despite the magnitude of what they were about to attempt. Chen turned to survey the tactical display showing the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled. 37 ships hung in formation around Earth, each one representing the pinnacle of human engineering and innovation. 12 dreadnoughts of the Retribution class formed the battle line's core, supported by 18 cruisers like the Liberator, and 7 ships of an entirely new classification that the alien intelligences would soon learn to fear. Status on the Convergence fleets? Commander Vale looked up from her science station, her expression mixing professional calm with barely controlled excitement. Long-range sensors confirmed 6 separate enemy fleets approaching human space from different vectors. Combined strength, over 800 vessels from 17 different species. The numbers were staggering. In response to humanity's victories, the galaxy's most powerful civilizations had assembled the largest military force in recorded history. Their ships carried technology specifically designed to counter every advantage that had made human forces so effective, and their coordination was being managed by quantum communication systems that allowed real-time tactical coordination across multiple star systems. And our special assets? Vale's smile was sharp as a blade. All 7 Prometheus-class vessels report ready for deployment. The enemy is about to discover that humans have been holding back our most advanced capabilities. Admiral Chen nodded grimly. The Prometheus-class ships represented humanity's response to the Synthesis Protocol, vessels that incorporated theoretical physics advances so radical that their very existence had been classified above top secret. Each ship was essentially a mobile research laboratory capable of deploying weapons that redefine the nature of space combat. Admiral, Lieutenant Commander Jackson called from the communications station. We're receiving a transmission on all frequencies. It's from High Counselor Veltar of the Ethereal Collective. Put him through. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing the energy-based form of the being who had spent 3 millennia mediating galactic conflicts. But Veltar's usual calm demeanor was gone, replaced by patterns of light that indicated barely controlled fury. Admiral Chen, this is your final warning. The Convergence Council offers humanity one last opportunity to prevent catastrophic loss of life. Surrender now, submit to galactic authority, and your species will be allowed to exist under proper supervision. Chen stepped forward, her human form seeming almost insignificant compared to the alien's exotic energy patterns. High Counselor, I have to admit I'm disappointed. For 3,000 years, the Ethereal Collective claimed to stand for peace and mediation. Now you're threatening to exterminate an entire species because we refuse to be conquered by slavers. Veltar's form pulsed with indignation. Your species has disrupted the balance that has maintained galactic stability for millennia. Your weapons violate fundamental principles of civilized warfare. You cannot be allowed to continue this path of destruction.
Funny thing about principles, High Counselor.
They tend to be flexible when it comes to protecting your own interests. You were perfectly happy with the balance when it meant older species could conquer younger ones with impunity. The moment someone challenged that system, you decided principles were more important than justice. Enough. Veltar's energy form flared with anger. You have 30 minutes to surrender unconditionally. After that, the full might of 17 civilizations will demonstrate why humans should have accepted their place in the galactic order. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Around Chen, her crew worked with the quiet efficiency that had become the hallmark of Earth's military forces, but she could see the strain in their faces. They all understood what they were facing. Odds that would have been impossible if not for the technological advances Earth had developed in secret. All ships, this is Admiral Chen. In 30 minutes, we face the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. They outnumber us more than 20 to 1, and they're equipped with technology specifically designed to neutralize our tactical advantages. She paused, looking around the bridge at the faces of men and women who had volunteered to stand between Earth and annihilation. Bob. But they've made one critical mistake. They think they understand human nature. They think we'll fold when faced with overwhelming odds. They think superior numbers and advanced technology automatically guarantee victory. Chen's smile was cold as winter steel. Today we're going to teach them what humans do when someone threatens everything we hold dear. Today they learn why Earth doesn't send negotiators. The countdown began. 29 minutes. Across human space, defensive fleets moved to intercept the incoming convergence forces. At Mars, Admiral Rivera commanded 18 ships tasked with protecting the inner system. At Jupiter, Admiral Harrison led 24 vessels in a blocking formation designed to prevent enemy forces from reaching Earth's asteroid mining operations. At the outer system's edge, Admiral Rodriguez deployed the deep space monitors that would provide early warning of enemy movements. 25 minutes. In the depths of space, the convergence fleets continued their approach. Their formation was a thing of terrible beauty. Hundreds of ships from dozens of species working in perfect coordination. Crystalline vessels gleamed like living jewels, their hulls incorporating gravitational shielding technology. Hegemony dreadnoughts bristled with weapons that had been enhanced with observer collective targeting systems. Arachnid ships moved with insect-like precision, their quantum communication arrays ensuring perfect tactical coordination. 20 minutes. Admiral, we're detecting massive energy buildup from the lead enemy fleet, Commander Vale reported. They're charging weapons that don't match any configuration in our databases. Chen nodded grimly. Intelligence reports had suggested that the Convergence Council had developed entirely new classes of weapons by combining technologies from multiple species. Prostitute. The results were apparently as terrifying as predicted. 15 minutes. All Prometheus-class vessels, prepare for deployment, Chen ordered. The 7 ships of humanity's most advanced class began moving away from the main fleet, their hulls shimmering with energy that seemed to bend light around them. Each vessel carried a crew of Earth's most brilliant scientists and engineers, individuals who had volunteered for a mission that pushed the boundaries of human understanding. 10 minutes. Enemy fleets are entering weapons range, reported Lieutenant Commander Park. They're beginning to spread out into attack formation. The tactical display showed the Convergence forces deploying with mechanical precision. Their commanders had studied every human engagement, identified patterns and preferences, and developed countermeasures for each tactical doctrine Earth had employed. What they hadn't counted on was humanity's talent for complete tactical revolution. 5 minutes.
Admiral, Vale called out with barely controlled excitement.
The Prometheus vessels are reporting successful field generation. They're ready to deploy the reality anchors. Chen felt a chill run down her spine despite the warmth of the bridge. The reality anchors represented theoretical physics pushed beyond all reasonable limits, devices that could stabilize local space-time and prevent the gravitational manipulation that formed the core of Convergence defensive doctrine. 3 minutes. All ships prepare for engagement. Remember, we're not just fighting for Earth today. We're fighting for the principle that might does not make right, that justice matters more than ancient privilege, and that sometimes the best negotiation is the one that never happens. 2 minutes. The Convergence fleets opened fire. The first wave of attacks was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Gravitational lances that could tear apart space-time itself reached out toward the human fleet. Quantum disruptors designed to interfere with matter cohesion at the subatomic level filled space with deadly energy. Temporal displacement weapons attempted to trap human ships in pocket dimensions where time moved at different rates. The human response was immediate and shocking. Reality anchors full deployment. The 7 Prometheus-class ships activated their most advanced systems simultaneously. Space-time around the human fleet solidified, creating a pocket of stable reality that neutralized every exotic weapon the enemy could deploy. Gravitational attacks simply ceased to function. Quantum disruptors found nothing to disrupt. Temporal weapons discovered that time refused to be displaced. Impossible, came a transmission from the Convergence fleet, their communication discipline forgotten in shock. Admiral Chen's smile was sharp as a blade. Physics is only impossible if you don't understand it well enough. Buyer. The human fleet opened fire with weapons that redefined the nature of space combat. The original magnetic accelerator cannons had been enhanced with targeting systems that could predict enemy movements across multiple dimensions. Plasma pulse weapons now fired coherent energy that existed in a state of quantum superposition, allowing them to strike targets in multiple locations simultaneously. And at the heart of the formation, the Retribution deployed humanity's ultimate weapon, the causality engine. Unlike the gravitational field generators that had terrorized previous enemies, this device manipulated the fundamental relationship between cause and effect. When it fired, the target was destroyed before the weapon actually triggered, creating a paradox that reality resolved by retroactively ensuring that the shot had always found its mark. The lead Convergence dreadnought, a massive crystalline vessel protected by the most advanced gravitational shielding ever developed, simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there, the next it had never been there. Its destruction propagating backwards through time until the universe forgot it had ever existed. Target destroyed, Park reported with professional calm, though his voice carried undertones of awe at what he had just witnessed. The Convergence fleet recoiled in shock, their perfect formation dissolving as individual commanders tried to understand what had just happened. Their technology could explain gravitational manipulation, quantum effects, even temporal displacement, but weapons that violated causality itself were beyond their understanding. Admiral Korax of the Hegemony's Second Fleet is requesting immediate withdrawal, Lieutenant Commander Jackson reported. He's claiming that human weapons violate the fundamental laws of physics. Chen's laugh was cold as winter steel. Physics is what we make it, Admiral. Tell him that if he withdraws his forces immediately, we won't be forced to demonstrate any more impossible weapons. But the Convergence Council had committed too much to withdraw now. High Counselor Veltar's voice filled the communication channels, his energy form pulsing with desperate authority. All ships, continue the attack. Their weapons are powerful but limited. They cannot sustain this level of exotic physics manipulation indefinitely. He was right. Chen knew. The reality anchors and causality engine consumed enormous amounts of energy, and even Earth's most advanced reactors couldn't sustain them indefinitely. But Veltar was making the same mistake that every previous enemy had made. He was assuming that humans only had the weapons they had already deployed. Commander Vale, prepare the Omega Protocol. Vale's face went pale. The Omega Protocol was humanity's final contingency, a weapons system so dangerous that using it would fundamentally alter the nature of reality in local space. Admiral, if we deploy Omega, the effects will be permanent. This entire system will become a dead zone for any technology based on conventional physics. Will it stop them? Yes. But it will also make the system uninhabitable for any species that relies on faster-than-light travel, gravitational manipulation, or quantum field generation. Chen looked at the tactical display showing 800 enemy ships closing on Earth's position. Each vessel carried crews who were convinced that they were fighting for galactic stability against human aggression. Each ship represented thousands of years of cultural development and scientific advancement. The destruction about to unfold would reshape galactic civilization forever. Deploy Omega Protocol. Authorization, Chen Alpha 7 Black. Omega Protocol deployment confirmed. Vale replied, her voice heavy with the weight of what they were about to unleash. The modification to reality began at the quantum level. The Prometheus-class ships initiated a chain reaction that altered the fundamental constants that govern physics within a sphere of influence encompassing the entire star system. Faster-than-light travel became impossible. Gravitational manipulation failed. Quantum effects stabilized into classical behaviors. The effect on the Convergence fleet was instantaneous and catastrophic. Ships that had been moving at significant fractions of light speed suddenly found themselves subject to relativistic effects without the protection of their exotic propulsion systems. Vessels that relied on gravitational field generation for structural integrity began to collapse under their own mass. Weapons systems based on quantum manipulation simply stopped functioning. Admiral, came a desperate transmission from High Counselor Veltar, his energy form flickering as the altered physics began affecting his exotic physiology. What have you done? You've destroyed the fundamental nature of space-time itself. No, Chen replied quietly, we've simplified it. Welcome to a universe where the laws of physics are non-negotiable, and superior technology means understanding those laws better than your enemies. The battle that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. Without their exotic weapons and defensive systems, the Convergence fleet found themselves fighting a conventional space battle against an enemy that had spent months preparing for exactly this scenario. Human magnetic accelerator cannons, unaffected by the altered physics, reached out to destroy enemy vessels that could no longer maneuver effectively. Plasma pulse weapons, designed to function in any physical environment, carved through alien hulls like tissue paper. And throughout it all, the human fleet moved with coordinated precision that spoke of training and preparation that had anticipated this exact situation. Enemy fleet strength down to 60%, Park reported, acting to surrender. But the massacre continued. Ship after ship of the Convergence fleet was reduced to spreading debris, their crews dying in a universe where the exotic technologies they had depended on for millennia no longer functioned. It was Admiral Korax who finally broke ranks. His transmission was filled with the despair of a military commander watching his forces being annihilated by an enemy he no longer understood. Admiral Chen.
I surrender.
The Hegemony's Second Fleet surrenders unconditionally. Please call off your weapons. Chen studied the tactical display showing the remnants of what had once been the galaxy's most powerful military force. Leading combat effective, and those were scattered throughout local space as their commanders struggled to adapt to the new physical laws governing their environment. All Convergence forces, This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. You have exactly 1 minute to power down all weapons systems and prepare to be boarded. Any ship that fails to comply will be destroyed. The response was immediate. Across the battlefield, energy signatures faded as alien weapons systems shut down. The great fleet that had been assembled to destroy humanity was now helpless, stranded in a universe where their technological advantages had become meaningless. High Counselor Veltar's image appeared on the main view screen one final time, his energy form flickering and unstable in the altered physics environment. Admiral Chen, you have doomed us all. The changes you've made to local space-time will spread. Eventually, the entire galaxy will be affected. You've destroyed 3,000 years of technological advancement in a single moment. Chen's expression remained impassive. High Counselor, 17 civilizations just spent months planning the genocide of my species because we had the audacity to defend ourselves against aggression. You created weapons specifically designed to neutralize our defensive capabilities, then assembled the largest military force in galactic history to ensure our complete annihilation. She gestured toward the tactical display showing the debris field that had once been hundreds of enemy ships. But you made one critical mistake. You assumed that humans would fight according to rules that you understood. You thought superior numbers and combined technology would guarantee victory. You never considered that humans might simply change the rules entirely. The transmission ended, leaving Chen alone with her thoughts and the magnitude of what had just occurred. The Omega Protocol had indeed altered the fundamental nature of local space-time, creating a sphere of influence where conventional physics reigned supreme and exotic technologies became impossible. Admiral, Commander Vale said quietly, preliminary reports indicate that the physical alterations are stable but contained. The effects shouldn't spread beyond this system. And the enemy survivors? Approximately 180 ships remain intact. Their crews are requesting medical assistance and safe passage home. Without their exotic propulsion systems, they're effectively stranded here. Chen nodded slowly. A decision that faced her now would determine how history judged humanity's actions. They could destroy the remaining enemy forces, eliminating any possibility of future aggression but confirming every accusation that humans were genocidal aggressors. Or they could show mercy, demonstrating that Earth's goal had always been defense rather than conquest. Open a channel to all surviving vessels. When the communication array was ready, Chen addressed the scattered remnants of the Convergence fleet. This is Admiral Chen to all Convergence forces. Your attack on human space has failed, and your weapons technology has been neutralized. However, Earth does not wage war against helpless enemies. She paused, ensuring that her words would be clearly understood by the translation systems. Any ship that requires medical assistance will receive it. Any crew that wishes to return home will be provided with transportation compatible with the altered physics of this system. Any species that pledges to respect human sovereignty will find Earth willing to discuss peaceful coexistence. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Dozens of enemy commanders requested medical aid for crews injured when their exotic life support systems failed. Others asked for technical assistance in adapting their vessels to function in the simplified physics environment. But it was High Counselor Veltar's final transmission that would be remembered by history. Admiral Chen, I was wrong. The Ethereal Collective has spent 3 millennia maintaining a balance of power that favored the strong over the weak. We convinced ourselves that this was stability, but it was really just another form of tyranny. His energy form flickered with patterns that indicated deep remorse. Your species has demonstrated that true strength comes from defending principles, not from exploiting advantages. The Convergence Council was wrong to see humanity as a threat to galactic order. Perhaps what the galaxy really needed was someone willing to challenge that order entirely. As human rescue ships moved to assist the stranded alien vessels, Chen remained on the bridge of the Retribution, watching as the greatest military force in galactic history was reduced to grateful refugees. The battle had been won, but the real challenge was only beginning. Admiral, Captain Torres approached. What are our orders regarding the prisoners? Chen turned from the tactical display to face her second-in-command. They're not prisoners, Captain. They're refugees from a system that convinced them that might made right. Our job now is to help them understand that there's a better way. Outside the ship, The modified space around Earth continued to function according to the simplified physics that the Omega Protocol had established. Faster-than-light travel was impossible, but conventional propulsion still worked. Gravitational manipulation had failed, but basic gravity still functioned normally. Quantum effects had been stabilized, but classical physics remained unchanged. The galaxy's greatest powers had learned that humans didn't negotiate with bullies, didn't back down from threats, and didn't fight fair when the survival of their species was at stake. But they had also learned that humans preferred mercy to vengeance, teaching to punishment, and building to destroying. As the first alien crews accepted human assistance in modifying their ships to function in the new physics environment, a different kind of message began spreading across the galaxy. Earth hadn't just defeated the Convergence Council, they had offered their former enemies a chance to build something better than the system that had failed them. The age of might making right was truly ending. The age of justice, backed by the determination of a species that refused to be conquered, had begun. Admiral Sarah Chen's final transmission was broadcast on all frequencies throughout the galaxy. This is Admiral Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. Today, the galaxy learned that humans don't negotiate with those who threaten genocide. We change the rules, we redefine the possible, and we turn our greatest disadvantages into overwhelming advantages. But we also learn something about ourselves. When faced with helpless enemies, we choose mercy. When confronted with ignorance, we choose education. When offered the choice between domination and justice, we choose justice. To every species listening to this message, Earth extends an offer of friendship to any civilization willing to embrace the principle that all sentient beings deserve freedom from oppression. We will defend that principle with everything we have, and we will teach it to anyone willing to learn. The stars belong to all of us. It's time we started acting like it. The message repeated as human ships began the long process of helping their former enemies adapt to a galaxy where justice mattered more than ancient privilege, where protection was offered freely to those who needed it, and where the most terrifying force in the universe was a species that refused to be conquered by anyone or anything.